What is up, everyone? I don't expect that we're going to have a lot of people here. I know there's some drama stuff going on. Let me turn my phone down. Okay. So, depending on how many people show up will determine how far I actually go with it today. But there are a couple of things I want to do. The first being, I want to say hello to everyone because I missed you guys yesterday. Allergy season. Mini me wasn't feeling well, so I had to go pick her up from school. And this is just not something that I want to talk about. She's only 9. So, Mo was here this morning. I don't know if she's come back, but hello if you're here, Mo. Dodie, Nay, my favorite green fuzzy butt. Let's see. Raz, hello. Any Pats? Luna, Pink Warrior, Lil G, Linda, Lenny. So, hello, everyone. Um, as most of you know, if you've been keeping up with my community posts, hello, Mama 2, Starry Night, and Nana. I've been making a lot of community posts over the last few days um, regarding SA. April is SA Awareness Month, so it's just like, you know, a little cosmic interference, I guess, that this situation that we're dealing with Matthew Dillon Bays just kind of happened to fall into SA Awareness Month. So what better way to support Maria and Smokma and bring awareness than to just make the rest of April all about that? I was going to go over the second part of the so-called interview that Rap did on Not Today, but I just don't want to. I don't want to bring any more negative energy to the situation, I guess. I don't like Smoky Mountain Mama is trying really hard to move forward in her own way, and we respect that and just, be there for her and be there for the rest of the community so that we can heal, because this not only affected her, it affected all of us in some way. Um, I would say probably at least 75% of our community is full of survivors in one way, shape, or form. Like, we've all been through some sort of trauma in our life that we need to overcome. And unfortunately, the majority of us have been in some type of abusive situation that can include SA. So the first thing I want to do, hey Kira, saw you sneak in. If I missed anyone else, I sincerely apologize. I'm not ignoring anyone. I'm going to show this video. If a mod could drop a link for the Observer in the chat, they did a phenomenal video in support of SA awareness, and I would like all of us to watch that together. So let me pull that up.
very rare that it was a circumstance where he physically held me down and forced me. It was usually a lot more of a manipulation than physical force. A lot of times I got things like silent treatment or verbal threats, or some of the worst moments are just when they're treating you like less of a person. I remember one day specifically being in bed. It was kind of towards the end of our relationship, if I remember correctly, and I remember this moment where my face was turned away because he didn't want to look at my face. And I remember realizing that I was frozen. I didn't even notice that I had no expression on my face. I wasn't making any sound. I wasn't putting an effort. I was just there. I was literally a shell of a person just there. And I realized in that moment I didn't want to be there anymore, but I didn't feel that I had the choice to stop. And I think I even tried to sort of move away, tried to break off for a second, and he pulled me right back down, didn't let me get away, and I just sat there. And that's what rape looks like to a lot of people.
For me, I lost my virginity while I was asleep, and that's not okay. So in my stand-up, I would say, if she's asleep, that's a no. Just hoping that a couple of guys would see that, and it be met in that moment and say, oh, no, this is a no. I heard it and didn't just stick. We weren't at that moment. And we talked about things. You know, he was my boyfriend. Yeah, I loved him. I had to comfort him. I also felt really angry, which was something it was just a feeling I had. I felt really angry at him. And it's like a rage that has stayed with me. I don't think you lose that.
Anytime that somebody manipulates you, isolates you, guilt trips you any way sexually, this is what we call sexual coercion. That you don't want to perform any sort of sexual and intimacy or engagement with that person, but you feel like you have to because this person's behavior is going to be any of those things that I just listed. When you are tired and you say no, you should say no once, not 25 times over an hour. For my own personal experience, I used to have to repeatedly say no, 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 no. Well, this person completely disregarded my boundaries, didn't listen, continued to grope, continued to grab, continued to push, until I would get so tired that I would pretend that I was asleep, just to get it over with, because I just didn't have it in me anymore to fight. The bullying, and the coercion. This behavior is 100% not okay. Ever.
I know it was a little choppy and kept buffering. I live out in the woods and it's very windy today, so my Wi-Fi is giving me fits. But I was determined to struggle through. I already had to postpone yesterday So, and you could probably hear my dog chomping down in the background. So I thought that video was beautifully put together. It touched on all the highlights and the misconceptions that people have about SA. I know that that's been a big point of contention for a lot of people, basically saying it didn't happen because it wasn't reported and just dumb things like that. And I also did a community post letting people know that, the majority of SAs do not get reported. And the reason for things like that is because of shame, fear of exactly what's going on here in this situation. Victim blaming is basically what I've seen. Like she should have removed herself from the situation, and just ignorant things like that, because you're not always in a position to remove yourself in the situation. Removing yourself from the situation when it happens with an intimate partner or a friend, a relative, someone it's a lot tougher. It's a huge difference between an SA at the hands of an intimate partner than it is at the hands of a complete stranger. It's a lot more difficult to overcome because you do have that connection, that friendship, that relationship. You feel safe with this person, and in the blink of an eye, it's destroyed. I know that in both instances, because I'm a 2-time survivor, both instances were at the hands of someone I knew. The first time was my best friend's brother growing up. And the second time was my best friend, someone who I had been best friends with for a couple of years, and we did everything together. He was there for me during a terrible breakup. I mean, because I did not want to get into another relationship with anyone, I had everything I needed with him. There was no physical relationship, and I had no idea that he even wanted something like that. I mean, if we would go out somewhere, we would walk with our arms locked, or we would hold hands. It was just completely innocent and comfortable, and I felt secure. And
Fighter pilot.
hold on one second.
It's not.
And he took that all away one night. I don't want to go into the details of it because I've already shared that story and it's tough. But I want to read you guys something. It's a letter to SA survivors. And it got me in my feels today. So this comes from a Rape Victims Advocates Online. And it says, "Dear survivor, first and foremost, I want you to know how incredible you are and how much I love and care about you. Without a shadow of a doubt, I believe you when you say you've been harmed, and I'm so sorry that you've experienced violence. To say that you have faced injustice is an understatement. Surviving sexual violence is a process full of heartbreak and grief and can feel much more devastating than the word unjust. And yet it is deeply, deeply unjust that you have had this experience. It is my sincere hope that if and when you decide to tell people in your life about your survivorship, that they believe you. It is common for survivors to face judgment, disbelief, and blaming from friends and family, which is often just as painful as the violence itself. Regardless, I will continue to believe you, always, even if no one else does. even if you have days where you still don't believe or trust yourself and your own experience. I promise to remind you that your experiences, memories, and feelings are real. I trust you. Trauma can rob survivors of their ability to trust their own memories and feelings. When a person is assaulted or abused, their brain goes into survival mode and releases various neurotransmitters that allow for that person to survive the attack. Every person reacts differently to trauma, releasing their own blend of neurotransmitters. While this natural instinct is imperative for survival, it can be confusing for survivors who may have frozen up during their assault, which is a common reaction to this flood of neurotransmitters. These trauma responses may cause you to feel emotions you have never felt before, which can be unnerving. It can be challenging to recall the details of the assault in any logical order, which can be frustrating. I know how foreign trauma brain can feel. You aren't alone in navigating these new feelings. There is no normal way to experience trauma. Although every experience is different, many survivors feel a sense of guilt over their assault. When something so unjust happens, it is normal to try to figure out a reason why it happened. We live in a rape culture that tells us that we, as survivors, did something wrong and that is why we were violated. It is nearly impossible not to internalize this myth to some degree. However, I promise you that you don't deserve any of this. You didn't deserve to be assaulted, abused, coerced, harassed, or harmed in any way. You don't deserve to be silenced or not taken seriously. By a society that minimizes and condones experiences like yours. You don't deserve to be doubted or blamed for your experience as a survivor. None of this is your fault. Hang on, guys. Let me say this again. None of this is your fault. Regardless of your story, someone chose you, and that decision sits firmly on them. No matter how your healing unfolds, know that this is not your shame to carry. I know that the impact of trauma can feel unbearable at times. It is likely that at some point you may feel rage, depression, numbness, agony, heartbreak, or grief over what has happened to you. While these emotions are unbelievably painful, they are also signs of progress. Whenever you feel these emotions, you are processing your survivorship. The only way out is through. You've got this. While you never deserved to experience trauma, you do deserve so many wonderful things that life has to offer. You deserve happiness. You deserve to heal. You deserve safety. You deserve rest. You deserve care. You deserve justice in whichever way you conceive of it. You deserve love, support, and people who will sit with you through the pain and the joy. Throughout your healing journey, know that every success, no matter how small it may seem, is progress. Getting out of bed is a success. Listening to your body and staying in bed is a success. Treating yourself to a long, luxurious bath is a success. Picking up the phone and asking for help is a success. Taking a walk outside is a success. Every single step, no matter how small, matters. I promise to support you no matter which options you choose in your healing. At times, all of the options may feel overwhelming. It is okay to take your time. I will support you when you make your decisions, whether you want to file a police report or not. I will support you. Whether you want to talk to a counselor or would rather talk to a friend at home in your pajamas, I will support you. Whether you want to identify publicly as a survivor the week you are assaulted, decades later or never, I will support you, no matter what you decide. I believe that you know what is best for you. I am honored to be available as a resource for you as you navigate your needs. Survivor, I want to say thank you. As a fellow survivor, I am with you. You are the reason I get out of bed every morning. Your courage and power drive me, and I will always be grateful for that. I hear you. I see you. Thank you. That was tough. And that letter was written from, it just says, sincerely, your local rape crisis worker. So that letter gives so much information because both of my assaults were unreported. And it was the first one was, I was really young. It was hard for me to even comprehend what had just happened to me because it was minor compared to some of the other situations that happened to people. But to me, it was the most major thing that could have happened at such a formative time in my life. I was only 11. And I had spent the night at this girl's house hundreds of times. And I didn't even tell my parents until many years later. And the second time it happened, the first person I told pretty much blamed me. And so I shut down and I never mentioned it again. Just because you don't tell someone what has happened to you doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And probably Thursday, we're going to go over some of the signs and things that you can look for. And we're going to go over some resources out there. I am always here for anyone who needs to talk about anything like that. Whether you're male or female, because assaults don't just happen to women. There's over 800,000 men each year who fall victim to SA or rape. 1.5 million each year will experience it. Whew. I think it's sick and disturbing that so many people out here have blamed the victim in this circumstance. It's disgusting to watch, and I just want to scream from the top of my lungs, do you people even know what you're doing when you say these horrible things? How do you think it makes her feel when she reads these vile comments? I'll be right back. Quit it, Riley. Sorry about that. My dogs are just all out of sorts today because the weather is so crazy. They won't go play outside. I have one that likes to eat pillows. But yeah, when I see these comments, it just, it literally makes me sick to my stomach. And I gotta hand it to her. She has held up amazingly well, considering this has all been under a microscope. And I don't know. On one hand, it's gross to see people treating her so poorly. And on the other hand, it's like amazingly beautiful to see the way that people have rallied around her and just been there for her throughout this. And it's great that, hold on, I have to put the dogs outside. I think my pit was trying to assault my lab. They're both like really young and they love to play. So I wish people in our community could think before they type. And I know we could all do that. We could all think a little more before we type. I know that I've typed and said some not so nice things to people in the moment. People tick me off to a point where I just want to lash out at them. And I try to be respectful because this is tough. No one saw this coming. And that's usually the way it is with any type of assault. You don't really see it coming. Not in every situation. In some instances, you can notice inappropriate behaviors, inappropriate things that people have said. But if it's just a random, unexpected thing, that it can take someone days or weeks to process what has actually happened. And it sucks when, the first person you tell doesn't believe you, or they blame you, or they start questioning you. People who say, well, if it wasn't reported, it didn't happen, are complete idiots. Because let me tell you what happens when you report it. Not only do you have to go through, like if you report it immediately, you're going to go through some pretty invasive procedures because they have to do a rape kit. And then you're going to be stripped down from your clothes and you're going to be put in a hospital gown. All your clothes are going to be taken away, which is fine because I know I never wore the clothes that I was assaulted in again. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. After you get through the medical part of it, they're going to grill you. And they are going to grill you to the extent where you feel like you're running in circles because they're trying to trip you up. The defense is going to try to trip you up because their job is to defend the creep that did it to you. So it's a long, painful process. And not everyone is ready to deal with it right away. We all deal with things and heal and overcome in our own time. There is no textbook format when it comes to healings over something like that. So to all you assholes out there making these snide comments, you need to stop. You need to think about, what if it were you, your daughter, your sister, your mother, your friend? Would you feel the same way if it were one of them, if they weren't ready to report it? Now, there are a lot of situations where people will falsely accuse someone of that, but you have to treat every situation from the get-go like it really happened. It's not up to us to decide if something really happened. That person knows what happened to them, and should they report it, trust me, law enforcement's going to get to the bottom of it. We live in a society now where people think that they can just take. They can just take anything. The only thing we really own is ourselves. And even that's not off limits for some people. Men and women and children are looked at as property, as a commodity that you can just take advantage of anytime you want. And that's just not the case. So not only do we have this trauma that someone we know is trying to overcome with the essay, but there's also a breakup in the mix. And I think she's doing incredibly well with that. There's also the mental torture that she endured. She lost a spouse to suicide. And this little creep has been running around threatening that, going so far as to drink fake antifreeze on a video to fish for attention. And let's not forget, people, this guy wasn't just on YouTube. He's also on Twitch. He has 369 followers on Twitch, and I am on top of him on there. I'm watching for any activity. I signed up for Kick because if I find him there, I'm going to expose him there. This kid needs to buck up. Well, not even a kid. He's a 30-year-old man-child, but he needs to buck up and get his shit together. I will not allow him. I will do everything in my power to make sure he never does this to anyone in this community again. And he'll pop back up because what does he have? All he has is the attention from social media. He has nothing. He has amazing gifts at his fingertips, his children, and he can't even be bothered to be a part of their life. I don't really want to harp too much on him, but if he's listening, I want him to know that I think he is a total asshole. And I sincerely hope he never shows his face around here again, or his marshmallow mask, right? Because he never really showed his face. It makes you realize now why he was so hell-bent on keeping everything about himself so private. Well, now we know. So getting back to the clothing that someone wears during an essay. It was brought to my attention by one of my subs, Flossie. I think you were in here earlier. So she told me about an exhibit, and it's something I had never heard of. It's called What Were You Wearing? And I have made, I think, 3 posts about it. It's very interesting and very surreal. So I encourage everyone to go check that out. If you just Google What Were You Wearing? It'll pull up numerous locations where they've done the exhibit. Most of them come from like colleges because a high percentage of sexual assaults and rapes happen among college students. But it shows people that it's not always someone who is wearing, tiny little shorts and a tank top or something. It really puts everything into perspective. And when you see that people were wearing like baggy pajamas or work uniforms, in some cases it's children's clothes, like children's nightgowns and things like that. It just shows you how wide this problem is. So what can we do to stop it? What we can do to stop it is make ourselves aware. Educate yourselves on how often this truly happens. Educate yourselves on what to look for. Educate yourselves on the healing process. Even if it never happens to you, educate yourself because you just might be that saving grace for someone else. You just might be that still small voice that they need to hear, letting them know it's okay. And that you're not damaged, you're not broken. And you will overcome this. Unfortunately, not everyone does. Sometimes the weight is too much to bear that they just can't continue in this life. And that breaks my heart. And these people making these sick comments, what if they were ever that one person that someone needed? One of my favorite organizations is RAIN, and I'm going to put the link in chat. If anyone ever listened to Tori Amos back in the 90s, she is one of the co-founders of RAIN. She is really involved in the organization. She wrote a song about her assault. And this just shows it can happen to anyone. She was a pastor's daughter, and it happened to her. And the song that she wrote is called Me and a Gun. So you guys should check that out. There is the link for rain.org. They have so many resources on their website. They do seminars around the country. They have 24-hour help available. And they will direct you to other resources in your area that can help you through the process. Because the one thing that you always have to remember, and it's hard, you have to remember that you're not alone. So that's one thing that makes me so happy that everyone's rallied for Smoky Mountain Mama, is because she and Maria now too, they both can see that they're not alone, that they have hundreds of amazingly strong and beautiful people behind them. Maria, if anyone heard her on the stand the other night, she did great. She shared her experience of what it was like for the 7 years that she lived with Rap. And she flat out says that she was afraid to tell him no because she was worried about what would happen. And that speaks volumes to me. That really, I don't know, that was like a gut punch. You know, this kid had everyone fooled, and he has no desire to do anything other than what he's been doing that we've seen him all do on YouTube. He just sits back and looks for vulnerable women who have money or who are willing to work and make money so that he can just sit around and just talk crap about people. He made tons of money on YouTube. And that little punk never paid for anything. So she went through a lot in the almost year that they were together. So all you people making nasty comments, I am begging you to shut your mouths. Just don't say anything. You can do so much harm to someone who is trying to get through and heal from something like this. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk. If you don't want to talk and be productive part of the conversation or part of the healing process, don't talk. Just go stay in your little wretched corner by yourself or in a little group, all of you, and just talk crap to each other. Because this is serious stuff. I take it seriously, and just about everyone who is in this chat right now or who is just listening, the people who will listen later, we all take it seriously. And all of us combined are a force to be reckoned with. And when you put her down, you're basically flipping all of us survivors off as well. And I don't like that. People have lost their hearts and compassion. And if you think that there aren't any problems in this world, then you need to wake up and you need to open your eyes and take a look around. Turn on the news for a little bit and you can see the human trafficking that's going on. You can see children who are harmed by their own parents. This world is going to shit. So, and it's up to us to make it better, to do our small part to make this a safe place to raise our children. We can't protect them from everything. But I know because of my experiences and what I went through, as soon as my middle child, I have 2 girls. My oldest girl is graduating this year. And as soon as she hit middle school, I started teaching her about these situations and, what is appropriate and not appropriate. I put all of them in self-defense. They all started learning a form of martial arts pretty much when they could start walking. You have to prepare people to go out in this world, your children, everyone's children, your friends' children. As adults, we are responsible for the future generations. And if we're not teaching our children right from wrong, especially when it comes to stuff like this when they're younger, then they're going to be scumbags when they grow up. They're going to have no boundaries. They're not going to consider anyone's feelings. My channel is not monetized right now. I don't want any cash apps sent to me whatsoever. I don't want to make money off of this. If you feel compelled to donate, please, for the love of cheese and crackers, send it to Rain. You just click on the link that I posted in the chat and you can make your donation right through there. Or any domestic violence shelter or organization. Yes, Twinkles, they do have a similar voice. I mean, that's one thing he picks, he picks well-rounded individuals to take advantage of because, he's a little scumbucket. He doesn't. And he's raising boys. Well, he's not even raising them, but he has boys. And that's what scares me. Luckily, his oldest has a strong male figure in his life and has a relationship with the grandparents. And his younger son has an amazing mom from what I've seen. I'm going to go and read some comments. I wasn't expecting that letter I've already read it twice to myself and I thought I got all a crying out. But, it's further proof that this never goes away. You live with it forever. There's no magic eraser that can take it all away. Let's see. Thank you, Bee's Knees. I appreciate that. Yes, scapegoat. I did the same thing. I always went for the edgy bad boys. I didn't. If you were too good to me, it creeped me out a little bit. And I think that's because of what happened to me when I was 11. I almost felt like I didn't deserve any better, or I felt like if they ever found out what happened to me, then I wouldn't be good enough for them in their eyes. And that's another thing that survivors live with. You always second guess yourself and you think, what's wrong with me? So as twisted as it sounds, it's almost like you go for the people that you know in the back of your mind are probably going to hurt you or not be the best that you deserve, but it's because internally you feel like you don't deserve any better. There's just a whole process that comes along with healing, and it's never ending. I don't think that any survivor that I've come across has ever gotten to a point where they can say that they're completely healed. I don't think that you can ever be completely healed. There's going to be things that trigger those memories and that heartbreak and things like that. You constantly live with it forever. Then you have forgiveness. I'm big on forgiveness. I forgive people for me so that I can live a more peaceful life. But it took me a while. It took me a long time to be able to say that I forgive them for what they did to me. Hey, Rip. And sometimes I still question, have I really forgiven them? How do you forgive someone who changes who you are? Because SA and rape, it definitely changes who you are in some way. I am a little older than a lot. Parents stop being afraid to be the parent. Nowadays, it feels like your hands are tied, but my generation survived discipline. Yes, rap should have had a whipping as a kid. And I grew up in a time where, we were grounded. I got spankings when I was younger. When I was out of line, my parents definitely let me know. Well, I know there's other people that are live right now. That's really what I wanted to go over today. I wanted to share that video. I love The Observer, and I thought that they did really well putting that video together. But the rest of April, I will continue to talk about SA awareness. I will continue to make community posts. We're going to get back on the topic of Ernie Shell because he's not off the hook. He's as creepy as rap is. And I saw him yesterday sitting in a chat saying he is nothing like rap. And the reason he's nothing like him is because he didn't abandon his kid. Yeah, you did, buddy. You signed over your rights, did you not? You don't have contact with them. That's already been proven. So you might want to walk that back a little bit, Ern. But like I said, Thursday, we're going to go a little more in depth of what RAINN is and what they have to offer. I'll have hopefully a couple more videos for you to watch. I'm going to put my email in chat if anyone needs to get in touch with me. I am always here to just listen. If you need to scream, cry, talk something out, I will never turn anyone away if they need my help. I may not answer immediately, but I will answer. And I appreciate those of you that showed up today. I'm sorry that I was a big crybaby. And let's just all continue to be there for Smoky Mountain Mama and Maria. I think Maria's going to start, coming into chats a little bit more. I told her last night in Jimbo's chat that she is welcome to come here anytime. And I have no worries about that because I know that everyone that comes in my chat is going to treat everyone else with dignity and respect. I've never had issues in my chat in almost 2 years. And I appreciate all of you for that. I don't want to deal with the problems here because the things that I talk about are just too important. That's not to say that the things other people talk about aren't important, but I go to other chats to cut up and play around and have a good time. I don't want anyone arguing over here. I want people to leave their differences at the door, coexist, and just continue to rebuild this community after we've had so much bullshit happen. So make sure you guys go check out my community post, and I will see all of you again Thursday. So let's go find where the drama is happening, and I will probably see all of you out there. As always, make sure you hug your loved ones, because tomorrow is never promised. And thank you all so much, and I will be talking to you guys again soon.